So this woman claims to be a TV producer so that she can murder a guy. Now, the woman's name is Pam. And Pam's about 51 when this story starts, and she's living in Missouri. And like everyone we talk about, Pam has a problem. She really wants money, but she doesn't know how to get it. But one day in 2010, all that changes because her best friend gets diagnosed with cancer. And it's not looking good for her. Her best friend is this woman, Betsy. And Pam, she's a good friend to Betsy. She checks on her all the time. She drives her to her chemo appointments and whatnot. But as I said, Pam really wants money. So as time goes on, she starts thinking about how to get paid from all this. And she comes up with a diabolical plan to collect her life insurance after she dies. And so she gets to work and she does everything she can to get close to Betsy. She positions herself as the most supportive person in Betsy's life, even when Betsy doesn't ask for it. And over time, Betsy really starts to trust Pam. And in confidence, Betsy tells her she's worried. She's worried that her teen daughters and husband will irresponsibly spend her life insurance payout when she dies. And of course, Pam sees this as an opening because instead of reassuring Betsy that she's just being paranoid, Pam tells Betsy to change her life insurance policy to make Pam the beneficiary. That way, she'll get the $150,000 payout when she dies. And of course, Pam tells her that she'll put it in a trust and distribute this money to Betsy's daughters when they get older. But we all know she ain't gonna do that. She's gonna keep it for herself. Anyway, so Betsy agrees and they get the paperwork signed. And now Pam is the beneficiary. Here's the thing about all this though. Betsy has cancer, but she isn't necessarily going to die soon. She's still fighting through it. There's a chance she could live. And I guess Pam wants to make sure that she doesn't survive. She really wants that life insurance money. So she decides to speed up the process by murdering her. And she'll do it in such a way that she doesn't get caught. So at this point, we're in 2011, and Pam sets her plan into motion. One night, Pam and Betsy are out, and Pam gives her a ride home, and they get there, and they go into the house. And suddenly, she just grabs a knife, and boom, she stabs her, and then she stabs her again and again and again. And she ends up stabbing her 55 times. Then she leaves. Later, Betsy's husband gets home, this guy, Russ. So Russ gets home and he sees the body and he panics and he calls 911. But unfortunately, it's too late. She's already gone. And so police investigate all this and they have no idea Pam had anything to do with this murder. They're actually suspicious of Russ, the husband, so he becomes a suspect. That's where the investigation starts. The focus was entirely on him, while Pam walked away with the payout, her plan seemingly perfect. But as we know in these stories, the truth has a way of coming out eventually. But for now, Russ was the one in the crosshairs. It would take years to unravel the web of lies Pam had spun, but the betrayal was just the beginning. Police interviewed many people during their investigation, including Pam, who was surprisingly eager to talk. During her interview, Pam immediately began shifting the focus toward Betsy's husband, Russ. She claimed Betsy and Russ had severe marital problems, painting a dark picture of their home life. Pam told police that Betsy once said Russ had threatened her life, even holding a pillow over her face. Despite being unable to verify her claims, the police became convinced that Russ was their man. Believing they finally had enough evidence, the authorities moved in and arrested Russ. This was the moment life changed forever for Russ, as he faced a murder charge he didn't commit. In 2013, Russ went to trial. Pam took the stand and delivered a testimony filled with lies. Her words were enough to sway the jury. At the end of it all, Russ was convicted. He was sentenced to life in prison, a devastating blow for a man who maintained his innocence. Russ immediately began the process of appealing his conviction, but the road to freedom would be long. Meanwhile, Betsy's daughters realized Pam never set up the trust their mother's insurance money was meant for. Suspecting Pam was keeping the money for herself, the daughters filed a civil lawsuit against her. During the lawsuit, it was discovered that Pam had lied about several key facts in the murder trial. The civil attorneys handed these shocking findings over to the legal team working on Russ's appeal. In 2015, the evidence was undeniable. Russ's conviction was overturned and he was finally free. After 2 years behind bars, Russ walked out of prison, but the investigation was just heating up. Now, all eyes were on Pam. She had been caught lying, and she was the last person to see Betsy alive. Freaking out and fearing arrest, Pam hatched a desperate new plan. She would frame Russ for a second time. She wanted to make it look like Russ had hired a hitman to kill her, and she went looking for a target. She found Louis, a man who was cognitively impaired and physically disabled, outside his apartment. Pam pretended to be a producer for Dateline, telling Louis she was casting for a crime reenactment. But this plan was about to take a turn no one expected. Stay tuned for what happened next. Pam devises a chilling plan to fake a 911 call with an unsuspecting man named Louis. She offers him money for an acting gig for a true crime show. He agrees. Louis gets into her SUV and she drives him to her house, straight into a trap. She brings him inside, guiding him to the bedroom where the scene will take place. She hands him lines to read, lines that will soon be used as false evidence. Then she calls 911, screaming that an intruder is trying to attack her. Thinking it's a reenactment, Louis reads his lines as if he's the aggressor. While on the phone, Pam pulls out a pistol and points it directly at Louis. She shoots him multiple times, ending his life right there in the bedroom. The operator hears the shots and immediately dispatches police to the scene. While police race over, Pam begins staging the scene to frame her husband, Russ. She plants $900 in Louis's pocket to make him look like a hitman. She places a knife in his hand to complete the image of a violent attacker. She adds a note supposedly from Russ, instructing Louis to assassinate her. The note even mentions forcing her to the bank, a perfect fabricated motive. She hoped framing Russ would take the heat off her for an earlier murder. Police arrive, and Pam tells them a heart-wrenching story of self-defense. She claims she was attacked and had no choice but to fire her weapon. But investigators are skeptical. Louis's history reveals glaring contradictions. Louis had severe cognitive and physical limitations that Pam didn't know about. He walked with a limp and couldn't run, making an attack physically impossible. The more police looked, the less sense her story made. The evidence didn't add up. Bam! They arrested Pam, realizing her story was a total fabrication. Here is the mugshot that marked the end of her calculated deception. She was charged with murder. Her own planted evidence buried her in court. Pam took a plea deal and was sentenced to life in prison without parole. Now she stays behind bars, but the past is still catching up to her. She's now facing charges for Betsy's murder, the case she tried to hide. She is still waiting for that trial. It seems her luck has finally run out. Justice is slow, but in the case of Pam, it was truly inevitable.